This is a Coke and NyQuil right here.
Oh, you mean shifty grenadine?
That's a good term. All right. Well, I think we got something there.
I hope so. That's hopefully not offensive to anyone.
Welcome to Namely 90s. Wow. The podcast that takes you back to the time before smartphones, Google, and Y2K. Join your hosts as they relive the pop culture that shaped a generation and the parts that many people wish they could forget. Listen in to the conversation about how the decade defined those who spent their childhood there and how it shaped them as adults. So, turn down the grunge and dial up the internet. Let's get started. It's time for Namely 90s.
That's right. You're listening to Namely 90s. My name's Andrew, and over there's Brandon.
That's me.
You can find us online at namely90s.com or on Instagram and Bluesky at namely90s. You can also find us on YouTube every Monday at youtube.com/@namely90s. And if you'd like to support the show, head over to patreon.com/namely90s and get signed up for one of our support levels. Boy, I think that was the moment I just started getting sick when I was doing that intro. Like something felt bad in my chest and throat.
Not that I cut you off about how light it is in the place that you're recording today.
It's very light. Although I didn't turn any lights on, so like I'm not bright, but the backdrop is. And then when it gets dark through this recording, I'm going to get very difficult to see.
Yes.
I'm not going to rectify that.
Neither am I. Because I do the color grading, but all I do is like I do a single color grade for your entire.
And it's a
video.
C-. No,
yeah. D+.
Oh boy. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There was a euphemism there. Anyway, that was stupid. Yeah. Well, what's new?
I'm again, I think I forgot to mention I was on Everything 90s 2 weeks ago for the third. Well, I was on Everything 90s for her last two episodes for her third season of her 90s versus 2000s. You remember Shalina? She was a guest on it.
Yes.
Christmas specials the last 3 years. She does a 90s versus 2000s debate, and this time I was conscripted into Team 2000s for Nickelodeon shows against our friend Chase Keys from Snescapades. And then the next episode, I guest moderated with her because the topic was video games.
Did you also make an off-color remark that got cut out later in that one?
It was the Nickelodeon one, yes. You know, she edits for time, unlike us.
She edits for possible cancellations.
I mean, I guess, I don't know. I feel like what I said was very apropos of alleged.
It's sort of sarcasm / satire. Like everyone else gets away with it.
Yeah. It wasn't even a joke. It was me just explaining the story I've explained on this podcast of how I fell down that rabbit hole during COVID of just like Dan Schneider likes feet and made all of the
Dan Schneider has an executive membership to Wayfair.com.
Yeah.
No. Sorry, we're starting to sound like Joe Rogan's podcast. TM, not a sponsor.
Yeah, except he would have Dan Schneider on to explain his side of the story. And
it's true.
Yeah. But yeah, it was I was like waiting for it and I'm like, oh good, she cut that out. But yeah, we lightly skirt, both Chase and I lightly skirt around it because he is responsible for some of the greatest Nickelodeon shows of the 90s and 2000s. So
doesn't Dan Schneider do a lot of skirting around? Okay. There it is.
Well, because I talked about it way back. We did an episode about I think Jamie Lynn for some reason. I think she was born. Okay. We didn't do a whole episode, but you know how season 1 format was. We would list celebrities that were born in the 90s. And I was like, yeah, I fell down this rabbit hole where I already said this. There was like this guy with like a mask on and like being very like QAnon on YouTube, and he was just like, Dan Schneider impregnates Jamie Lynn Spears, and that's why he's banned from Schneider's Bakery in the 2010s. And it's like, wait, that timeline doesn't make sense. Here's Jamie Lynn's cuck of a boyfriend who they say is actually the baby daddy, but no, look how fat this baby's face is, and it was just as fat as Dan Schneider's face.
Babies have fat faces. Dan Schneider could run for president, though. That's the just saying.
He was very Donald Trump-esque, allegedly.
Yeah.
I don't know. Apparently, you could say these things and only have to pay $63 million in damages the second time you get sued. Or is it $83 million in damages? Yeah.
What else? I
made you watch a thing before we started.
Yeah. So this was a Paramount Plus spot from the Superb Owl.
Yes.
That is upcoming or just happened?
Next weekend, I believe.
Okay. I think we always talk about stuff like as if it may or may not have already happened.
Yeah.
So you describe it.
Okay. So Paramount Plus, like since they started, they've like been doing these weird mashup ads where all of their stars are like on a mountain and, I don't know, doing something related to one of their activities, and now I think they're just trying to climb the mountain of Paramount Mountain, and like it's just like they're just taking all their IPs and mashing them into a little sandbox and making a fun little ad out of it, and finally it's gotten to a point where it's not just cringe; it's kind of humorous,
right?
This one, they're trying to scale a hill and or like a sheer rock cliff face, and they have a Miami. Was that a Miami Dolphin player try to throw?
Yeah, the QB to nope.
I think you're more sporty than I am these days.
He was on my fantasy team last year that I got kicked out of.
Gotcha. And he couldn't throw it high enough.
Last year?
He couldn't throw the rope high enough. So, Hey Arnold's there, and Patrick Stewart's there. Drew Barrymore's there. Reno 911 guy's there. Peppa Pig is there, and Knuckles, from Sonic the Hedgehog. And Patrick Stewart's like, "Why don't you just throw the football-headed boy?" Because you need a football. Drew Barrymore is also there, and it's like we shouldn't throw a child. The QB refuses to throw the child, so Patrick Stewart takes off his strange parka and then reveals
he has like one of those old timey like football uniforms.
Old timey football uniform.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. And then throws Hey Arnold, and Creed starts playing Higher by Creed with the band Creed there. And like some of them are singing along and making their own lyrics to it. And yeah.
And it has the guy from Reno 911.
Yes.
Lieutenant Dangle.
They made a second movie on Paramount Plus of Reno 911 while they had the
That's actually a funny show.
They had a season on Quibi, which is the vertical phone thing, and then a season on Roku, apparently after Quibi died. But it was funny.
It was funny. Here's the problem with this commercial.
Yes.
If you're Gen Zer, you have no idea who the hell like 90% of the people in that commercial were, which I kind of appreciated.
Yeah,
like F off.
Yeah. Yeah, don't listen to our podcast, Gen Z.
I don't want to anyway. We're not eating enough Tide Pods
but
for their liking.
Arnold falls short, and then Patrick Stewart's like, "If only we had some pig skin," and then it cuts to Peppa Pig looking nervous.
Yeah, it was funny. I love that. Did they say like, "Why is Creed here?" And then like Creed is just there, like. Yeah. On some ledge playing. That was pretty funny.
Mm-hmm. I think Drew Barrymore was like the standout of it. I mean, Patrick Stewart, obviously, because he's Patrick Stewart and he's in his like insane years now.
Drew Barrymore clawing her way back from being lightly Ellened at some point.
Yes, lightly Ellened, I think. Yeah.
There was something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but that just
means she's mean to her staff. Like,
didn't
Jimmy
she like
Fallon.
not cancel something? Oh, during the writer's strike. That's what it was. She didn't like cancel her show.
Gotcha.
She's a scab.
Got it. So
Yeah.
different from being Ellen or Fallon.
Well, Fallon got less Ellen than Ellen did.
Yeah. But yeah, she was kind of just like she was playing the straight man for most of it, being like, we're not gonna throw a child.
I don't know. I thought it was funnier than the average Super Bowl commercial.
Problem is that was 2 minutes.
Yeah, it was pretty long.
So that's not going to air on.
That's what she said.
Like, it's going to be like a fraction of that is going.
True.
Even though the Super Bowl is on CBS this year.
One of the commercials will just be another version of CSI, another spinoff, an entire episode.
Yeah.
CSI Las Vegas. Wait, that was the original one.
But did they have the Las Vegas on the subtitle back then?
No, it just that's where they were.
Do you consider CSI Las Vegas and CSI the same show?
Yes.
Okay. Well, because when they came back, it's now CSI Las Vegas.
Oh, that's right. No, that's not the same show, isn't it? It's trash.
Okay. Speaking of trash, I thought of this 2 weeks ago when Mean Girls came out, and thought, hey, this is relevant. And then we did 2 other episodes instead. But there's a lot of 90s films that were turned into musicals because
we
Girls,
did talk about this.
Yes, because Mean Girls is a 2000 film, for those of you that don't know, that was made into a Broadway musical and then back into now a movie. And while most of these that I've gotten the full list, most of these that I've picked aren't like haven't been made back into a movie again after being made into a musical, but they were 90s movies first and are now Broadway musicals. So I've added some extra little bits about some of them. I think I was originally going to make a game out of this, but it's just something to talk about. Like, right off the bat, Clueless was not only turned into a TV series, Clueless was turned into Clueless the musical. That's what I did. I added some quotes from the reviews on some of these. Frank Rizzo of Variety called the narrative lightweight, but praised the overall look of and tone of the show. He described the choreography as teen energy moves, or said of the choreography, its teen energy moves are a constant pleasure. That sounds sexual. And the design essentials are rad. And the costumes recall the too cool to care designs, the period, and its stylish plaids and pleats. I guess I was actually going to turn this into possibly into a game where you had to guess the musical based off of the bad reviews.
That would have been difficult.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Is this popular? Do people really respond to this?
I don't know. Are
they trying to make it better or worse than the original? I can't.
And like some of the like Cruel Intentions, that was like the one where Sarah Michelle Gellar was like into her stepbrother, and
didn't that also have
Reese Witherspoon?
Oh,
and Selma Blair.
Oh wow, you have a great memory.
Yeah. Andrew's like, I don't know who those people are.
No. I must be in Gen Z.
And Sarah Michelle Gellar and Selma Blair kiss.
Ooh.
Because I don't remember the plot of the movie. Something about high school and being a rich, stuck up.
Clearly, the plot of the movie wasn't what appealed to you. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, SMG kisses SB. Hell yeah. That's toxic masculinity, Brandon, from the 90s.
Did you read the whole list already?
Nope. I read 2.
Oh, okay.
Ever After. Apparently there's a Freaky Friday in 1996.
Is that the one with Jamie Lee Curtis?
No.
The original?
No, it was like a DCOM equivalent, Disney Channel original movie equivalent, but before those existed. Ghost.
That'd be a weird musical.
Yeah, it's a thrill-free singing theme park ride, as a New York Times reviewer said, and relies mostly on elaborate video imagery.
Wow, that sounds terrible.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Modestly ingenious special effects and it relies on mostly elaborate video imagery, modestly ingenious special effects, and the familiarity of ectoplasmic romance to entertain.
Wow, that person's annoying.
Yeah. Groundhog Day.
Which, by the way, apparently, did the groundhog see its shadow or not? Or was it also just still nighttime this year?
Yes.
I saw a video and it was like dark out.
Well, don't they do it at the crack of dawn?
Well, so again, does it see its shadow? Okay, if it sees its shadow, we're going to have less winter.
Mm-hmm. And it saw its shadow because it was all
so basically they're asking,
overcast.
Is it sunny that day? Why do they need a groundhog to tell them that?
Oh, good point.
Like, if it's sunny, it's more likely to be sunny later. Wow. What a leap.
But I thought it's supposed to be a shorter spring now, or a shorter winter.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if it sees its shadow, it's a shorter winter. But basically you're saying if it's sunny today, we think it'll be sunny sooner.
Gotcha. Yes.
Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yes. Meanwhile, LA is possibly underwater right now.
Bad Religion should release a sequel to their song "Los Angeles is Burning," named "Los Angeles is Flooding."
Mm-hmm. There's an atmospheric river. Like, did we have the term atmospheric river when we were
No,
kids?
I feel like that's like 10 years old. Also, the term
10?
grapple, which is like that weird haily snow stuff.
Yes. Yes.
I call it bullshit. Oh, sorry.
They just love those buzzwords. Treason, grapple, atmospheric river.
What did you say?
Yeah, I don't know. The elections are coming up. Yay.
Woohoo.
Go vote. Not for Trump. Grumpy Old Men, Mrs. Doubtfire, My Best Friend's Wedding, Pretty Woman got a Broadway show.
How do they? Okay, they have to know they're never gonna like get anywhere near the quality or appeal of the original movie when you're talking about some of these ones.
And critics agreed, as it was poorly received by them.
Pretty Woman.
Yes.
Like Miss Doubtfire. Like, there is no Miss Doubtfire without Robin Williams.
Yes. I actually heard that one. Well, that one's more recent because I just saw
Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah. And what's her name from You Don't Like Her? The mom.
From what?
I don't know. She was in the Amazing Spider-Man movies as May Parker. Sally Field.
Oh, yeah. Well, just because her performance on ER is really annoying. Like,
Gotcha.
Her performance is award-winning because she accurately portrays someone who has mental illness and that makes her very annoying. So, therefore...
Read into that what you will.
No. It's annoying in the sense that, like, she continually messes up one of the main characters' lives. Like, it's very real.
Gotcha.
And, like, her portrayal of it is good, so therefore she won an Emmy. But like, because it's so good, you don't like her character because it's so realistic. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
It's irritating.
It'd be like if someone played Donald Trump, I wouldn't like.
Yes.
The performance could be excellent, and therefore I would hate the performance.
I was about to say, if someone played Hitler, but then again, in Jojo Rabbit, Taika Waititi played an imaginary friend version of Hitler, and it was pretty good. Or I still like him as an actor and director.
Oh.
And screenwriter.
Yeah.
But not
Sure.
Hitler. Well, he was okay.
I have someone... The person I'm staying with is coming in, so sorry if there's like some noise. You'll just cut out a bit.
No worries. Are you going to be okay to keep going?
Yeah, that's no problem.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I just saw Lisa Jacob from Miss Doubtfire. She was the older sister. Was with the cast of the Broadway play recently. So that was interesting. Sister Act.
Sister Act,
which you didn't enjoy anyway. There's a Titanic spelled with a Q-U-E.
No,
it's a parody musical.
Okay, I'll allow it for that reason.
But it doesn't sound great either.
No, I imagine not. But
a joyful musical retelling of the Titanic set to Celine Dion's Grammy Award-winning catalog. Yeah.
And that didn't do well. Shocking.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't find much about it. But it opened last year. The Toxic Avenger, Trevor, The Wedding Singer, which is actually one of my favorite 90s musicals, I guess. And yeah, a Variety reviewer wrote, as forced as it is, this is a busy confection offering enough easy enjoyment to attract the outer boroughs and the tourist trade. It's also derivative by design, which we've been saying this entire time, to some extent making a virtue of its inherent phoniness via winking acknowledgement. Where the 1998 film ended with a scene featuring 80s icon Billy Idol, the stage adaptation corrals not only an Idol impersonator, but a fake Tina Turner, Imelda Marcos, whoever that is, Cyndi Lauper, Mr. T, and Ronald Reagan. Retro overkill is a distinct risk here, but one mainstream odds are unlikely to mind. Not audiences, odds.
That's an annoying review as well. Also, I always thought the person's name was Amel DeMarcos. I've heard people say that name, but I didn't know who it was. I just assumed it was Amel DeMarcos.
I don't know who either person is.
Why?
Filipino politician.
Why are they doing this to us? This is horrible.
What is a kleptocrat? I don't know. Thoughts on anything else? Part 2. There's more in part 2.
Stop remaking stuff. Especially in an intentionally worse way. Like, I feel like if you're trying to make it to be as good or better, then I find that admirable. But if you're just like, you're making a worse version of it from go, like that seems bad.
Yeah. Unless it's funny. Like,
it seems like a cash grab.
Like, they turned the Avengers into a musical in the universe of the Avengers that they now are doing as a 30-minute musical at California Adventure at the theater at the end of the street there. So
maybe Zack Snyder should do one. Zack Schneider. Ooh, wait, hold on. No, just kidding. All right. And now let's go to Brandon for the Namely 90s Minute.
Welcome back to Namely 90s Minute. Every week we look back at a culturally relevant show, movie, or piece of pop culture that probably helps stoke the algorithm. This week, because it's still kind of dead in theaters, because it's the time of year for that, / the strike from last year, we're looking back at one of the best Danny Boyle films from the 90s, Trainspotting. Trainspotting is a 1996 British black comedy based off of the novel by the same name, directed by the director of Slumdog Millionaire, starring young Obi-Wan Kenobi, Buttons from Our Flag Means Death, Sherlock Holmes from Elementary, Dr. Hunt from Grey's Anatomy, Rumpelstiltskin / Mr. Gold from Once Upon a Time, and the voice of Princess Merida in Brave. The story takes place in Scotland, revolving around 26-year-old unemployed heroin addict Mark Rentboy Renton, who lives at home and hangs out taking drugs with his friends Simon Sickboy Williamson, Daniel Spud Murphy, and their dealer. His other friends, agro-alcoholic Francis Franco Begbie and footballer and speed user Tommy McKenzie, who both abstain from using heroin, warn Renton about his drug habit. So Renton tries to quit by weaning himself off using opium suppositories, but he has the runs and has to relieve himself in the most disgusting toilet in all of Scotland, then imagines himself being swallowed up by it while retrieving the suppositories. Renton, now free of his heroin habit, attempts to lead a better life, which involves him shooting at strangers' dogs with a BB gun with Sickboy, giving Spud amphetamines for a disastrous job interview, and stealing a sex tape of Tommy and his girlfriend. Eventually, he notices a rise in libido, so he goes to a nightclub and goes home with a girl named Diane. In the morning, he's horrified to learn that she's an underage schoolgirl who then blackmails him into having a relationship. After Renton, Sick Boy, and Spud fail to reintegrate into society, they relapse into heroin, this time dragging Tommy with them, who was depressed after his girlfriend broke up with him for losing their sex tape. Sick Boy's daughter ends up dead from negligence while they shot up, but they still continue to use. Then Spud and Renton get nicked for shoplifting while Spud goes to jail for 6 months. Renton avoids jail by entering a drug rehabilitation program, which fails, and he ends up overdosing. So upon release from the hospital, his parents lock him in his childhood room and force him to quit cold turkey. While going through it, he hallucinates Sick Boy's dead baby crawling up the walls onto the ceiling and twisting its head around. Finally, he was released from his room after getting a negative HIV test. He visits Tommy, who has become heavily addicted and tested positive for HIV. Renton then leaves to London to start a new life at Diane's suggestion and is doing well until Sick Boy and Begbie show up and get Renton fired from his job. Fleeing from the cops back to Edinburgh, they arrive back just in time for Tommy's funeral, who has died of AIDS-related toxoplasmosis. Following the funeral, Sick Boy ropes Spud, Renton, and Begbie in on a deal to turn around 2 kilos of pure heroin for 4 times the profit, each making £4,000 on the sale. While celebrating at a bar, Begbie gets into a drunken brawl, and Renton realizes he needs to get out of the situation, so that night he grabs the money and leaves the other 3 behind, leaving Spud his share in a locker. The movie ends on Renton promising the viewer he's going straight and he's going to live a boring, regular life like the rest of us. And that's Trainspotting in a Namely 90s minute. More or less.
And now back to the show. Don't mind me just hacking up along.
And speaking of
Feel good.
We spent the last 10 or so minutes talking about how this is all derivative. It doesn't improve anything about these 90s movies. So I pose the question, what 90s movie should we turn into a musical? Would we go with something that's one of our favorites? Would we?
Well, it depends. To me, I immediately go to ironic ones, like ones that are inappropriate, like The Silence of the Lambs, the musical.
That would be good. For some, Toy Story popped into my head.
Is it not a musical? No, just kidding.
I mean, Randy, what's his face? Randy Newman. Yeah. Like he already has a soundtrack set for that. And then you can sing about, Woody pushing Buzz out the window on accident or on purpose or whatever. And, being hung over a open barbecue with a giant flame.
Let's see. Yeah, all my movies I'm coming to mind are just like, they would be silly.
Mm-hmm. Toy Story would be silly.
Like the blockbusters, Jurassic Park, the musical. Could you imagine?
I would see that over Mean Girls, the musical. Independence Day, the musical.
Yeah, that was coming to mind as well. That would be weird. It'd be kind of cheeky, but like Men in Black, the musical. That could be fun.
Yeah, Men in Black, because you already have a Will Smith song for that one.
But what would actually be good? Like, these are kind of funny, but what would be a good one?
I mean, I like the idea of a comedy musical.
You can have really serious ones too.
Like a dramatic.
Ooh, Philadelphia. No.
Yeah.
Shawshank. You could do that into a musical.
Shawshank, the musical. It would be long.
It'd be long. It would be kind of gloomy, though.
Yeah.
There's a few scenes that would be hard to do in the song.
Although, that'd be easy to adapt into a stage since it's mostly prison.
Are you saying that stage is a prison? Or are you saying something personal?
No, I'm just thinking, I was thinking set design there. You don't have to do as many set changes if it's all just prison cell, the yard, and then at the end, crawling through poop.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how you do a musical of that.
Just have a bunch of people, have a bunch of the stage people in black with brown streamers just waving.
Oh, the only thing that would make Brink more lame is if it was a musical.
Do we want to do Brink the musical?
Air Bud the musical.
Ooh.
No, I think one of the big names would be better because we could there's just more.
Oh, I'd love Air Bud the musical
to say about that. because they have like actual famous people in them.
Yeah. So what were our big ones? Independence Day, Jurassic Park, Men in Black.
Yeah.
I feel like Men in Black is too hard and too difficult to adapt into a musical.
Yeah, and I think that the storyline is already so outrageous that turning it into song makes it like increasingly more outrageous.
I feel like we're missing one.
Yeah, I know.
And clearly it must have been one that we've done as a special before, like Jingle All the Way. Well, you know how like A Christmas Story is now like a stage play. They could turn Jingle All the Way into a stage play. Not a musical, but a stage adaptation.
But I think the problem is like, as much as I don't care for him, Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of is that movie. And so like, unless it's him, can it work?
Fair. But I mean, like the voice of Ralphie and the voice of Ralphie like make Chris. I could see it. I
just
see
like
it
Jingle
working.
All the Way goes nowhere if it's not Arnold.
Sure. You need someone going.
Try to recast that. Yeah, a guy named what is his name, like John Brown or something, but he has an Austrian accent. Like they never address that in any Arnold Schwarzenegger vehicle.
Oh, speaking of which, rip to the max, Carl Weathers.
Yeah, I know him best as the guy with the false arm in Happy Gilmore.
Mm-hmm. That's the best 90s reference, I think. 80s would be Predator because they do the hand clasp, and then 2000s would be Arrested Development when Carl Weathers plays a version of himself on the show where he's like Tobias pays him for acting lessons, and he's just like giving him life lessons instead, and he's like. He saves this ham bone. He's like, take this ham bone, put it in some water, add some vegetables, got a stew going. Something like that.
Okay.
Classic Arrested
Sage advice.
Rip to the max.
Also add some sage.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll let you make the final choice on the movie then.
Let's do
In a World.
Jurassic Park.
The musical. Okay.
A musical, 65 million years in the making.
You know the book. You know the movies. Now you'll know the music. Oh. Jurassic Park, the musical.
Featuring all of the magic from the original film, but with no actual famous people on the cast. On second thought, maybe we don't have to recast Jeff Goldblum, but he's probably above this, although he's still in the apartments.com commercials.
You're
gonna love it.
See John Hammond welcome his guests to Jurassic Park, not by merely greeting, but by singing them in. Have Mr. DNA sing to you the mysteries of life.
Featuring new songs like Help, I'm Being Eaten by a Dinosaur and Wow, the implications of genetic engineering were far greater than I ever could have imagined.
As well as Run, 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 T-Rex Run. The Jeep is falling off the ledge. And is that an arm not attached to a human?
And also, don't forget that song about the settlement, $525,600 million paid out to the families of the deceased.
Light your butts for this all-new stage adaptation of Jurassic Park.
The New York Times says, why?
Broadway reviews say, the writers were so preoccupied with whether they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. The New York Post writes, faster, faster, faster would be better to get us out of this musical.
And rounding out the reviews, Baltimore Chronicle says, please don't do this again.
Yeah, I was in the audience, and that when the T-Rex came out, it was amazing. Dr. Grant says, don't move. He can't see us if we don't move, and you have to be super silent as that giant Tyrannosaurus head comes out all over the audience. They did it in Cats, but, like, this was way cooler. Coming to a Broadway theater near you, Jurassic Park, the musical. Da-da-da. Not featuring the music from John Williams.
We'll pay you to take tickets from us.
And that's it for this week's edition of Namely 90s. Remember, you can find new episodes out every Monday. Find us on Bluesky, Instagram, and YouTube at Namely 90s with 90s, and tell us what you want us to talk about on future episodes. If you'd like to support the show, please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Namely90s, also with the 90s. Finally, you can also contact us through our website, namely90s.com. Please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Audible, Jurassic Park, the musical, Deezer, TuneIn, iHeartGood Pods, and wherever you get your podcasts from. I'm Brandon, and that's Andrew, and we'll catch you next time. In a
music.
world.
Okay, you're going first.
No, you do it. You do it.